A lone supper booking for Ethan. It was a bash for his fresh start, a cheers to tomorrow with his ideal betrothed, Sophia. He'd snagged the prime spot at Elixir, the town's swankiest eatery, a joint where folks made lasting impressions. But he never dreamed the specter from his history would be jotting down their pics. For Olivia, his expecting former spouse, dishing up their meal wasn't merely employment. It was a prime view of the existence snatched away from her. As she neared their softly lit nook, the tinkling stemware and gentle chuckles sounded like a ticking bomb ready to blow. The pain kicked off in the base of Olivia's spine, a steady, nagging ache that shot through her limbs. At 7 months along, her frame seemed less hers and more like a ride she was just steering through the grind. A real worn-out, achy driver. She pushed her palm against the firm bulge of her abdomen, the little one responding with a small, determined wiggle that offered both solace and a nudge about the huge solo challenge ahead. Her gig at Elixir was pure agony. The spot was a fancy trap of ringing glasses, quiet chats, and the aroma of gourmet herbs and fat wallets. It was the sort of venue she and Ethan once fantasized about dining in, back when their aspirations were intertwined, when one day was a vow, not a jinx. Now she weaved through its tight passages with a platter teetering against her protrusion. The crisp black outfit felt like attire for a role that wasn't meant for her. Table 7 wants their tab, and the group at 12 is calling for you, Emily, another server murmured as she zipped past. Her look mixed pity and rushed vibe. You holding up, sweetie? You seem washed out. Olivia mustered a grin that felt ready to shatter. Just the regular rat race. This tyke is gearing up for the football squad, I reckon. Emily patted her arm. Stick it out. Just a couple more hours. A couple more hours seemed like forever. Each patron she attended was a snapshot of the world she lost. Duos marking milestones, their fingers linked over the snowy cloth. Exec types clinching agreements with pricey vino and smug grins. She was a unseen gear in their joy machine. A phantom handing out starters while her own world crumbled to bits. The money crunch was a non-stop chokehold. The split had been quick and savage. Ethan had declared their joint venture, a modest branding agency they'd sunk their souls and cash into, had tanked. He'd flashed her charts, numbers blurring through her weepy vision, and claimed there was zilch to split. He was gutted, he'd insisted. Better to call it quits, part ways, and reboot. He'd been so persuasive, his green eyes brimming with fake regret she was too shattered to challenge. A fortnight later, he was promised. Now every buck from Elixir fed the growing stack of debts, the lease on her cramped studio flat, the prenatal pills, the thrift store bassinet she'd pieced together with puffy digits and a quivering lip. She was set on pulling this off, crafting a world for her kid, one of affection and steadiness, even if forged from the ruins of her former one. The greeter, a tall redhead named Brooke, came up with a device in tow. Olivia, fresh table for you. Nook 15 by the glass, a big shot slot. Olivia bobbed her head, snatching 2 fancy folders. Nook 15 was the top pick, a hidden spot with a sweeping vista of the sparkling urban horizon. It was held for Elixir's elite crowd. She drew a long, calming inhale, straightened her smock over her swell, and slapped on her work face. Her tootsies, bloated and griping in their practical dark shoes, hauled her over the lush rug. The subtle buzz of talk and the mellow tunes of a blues band hung in the atmosphere. She spotted the Nook, the pair outlined against the skyline glow. A guy in a crisp custom suit, his blonde locks perfectly groomed, a lady with flowing auburn tresses, a rich sapphire gown hugging her slim build. A pearl necklace around her neck snagged the flame's flicker and cast glimmers across the setup. Olivia's pace hitched. The oxygen in her chest froze solid. No way. Her brain pushed back the sight, aiming to warp it into a fluke, a harsh mix-up. But as the fellow swung his noggin, his side view lit by the dancing flame, reality spun wild. Ethan. It was Ethan. And the gal opposite him, the one he eyed with a look of worship Olivia once believed was hers alone, wasn't any random chick. It was Sophia Harrington, offspring of the property mogul Victor Harrington. Her snapshot popped up often in the gossip columns, always linked to some hot prospect. Now she was linked to Ethan. All noise in the joint dulled to a muffled thunder in Olivia's ears. The folder in her grip abruptly felt like a ton of bricks. This wasn't a mere fling. This was a step up, a swap out. The flopped branding whiz with nada left was whining and dining in the priciest spot around with an heiress. The charts, the fibs, the phony heartbreak, it all snapped into focus with nauseating sharpness. Her gut reaction was to bolt, spin and dash to the back, hole up in the stockroom, and unleash the whales scratching at her windpipe. But then the infant nudged once more, a keen, anchoring prompt. She wasn't the naive gal who'd blindly bought Ethan's tales. She was a mom, and she required this paycheck. A steely, tough grit washed over her. She wouldn't crumble. She wouldn't hand them the thrill. She squared her shoulders, raised her jaw, and strode the last strides to the setup. She set the folders down with a firm grip, her stare locked just above their crowns. "Evening," she uttered, her tone oddly steady and flat. "I'm Olivia, your attendant this night. May I fetch you a beverage to kick off?" And then Ethan glanced up. Ethan sensed the press of Sophia's palm on his, her digits chilly and dainty. The gem on her engagement digit, a 3-carat rock he'd staked his whole tomorrow on, sparkled in the glow. His existence was all shine now. The glossy finish of his fresh ride, the transparent panels of his executive suite, the bubbly fizz they were set to request. He'd painstakingly built this new setup. A shiny stronghold meant to block out his old flops. "Ain't this the cat's meow?" Sophia purred, her tone smooth as velvet. She waved toward the pane, the metropolis stretching below like a gem rug. Pop was spot on. "You can't top this vista." Ethan beamed, a slick, rehearsed move that fell short of his peepers. "Nothing but the cream of the crop for you, Sophia." And that hit the nail on the head. He was courting and soon tying the knot into a whole new league. Victor Harrington wasn't merely a dad-in-law. He was a power broker. He'd spotted drive in Ethan, a raw hunger matching his own. With some dials and a hefty infusion, posed as a nuptial present, Harrington had revived Ethan's busted agency, revamped it, pumped in funds, and tossed him the reins to an empire he'd never solo erect. All he needed was to keep Sophia content and show he merited the Harrington tag. The bust-up with Olivia seemed Ian's back, a tangled, awkward episode he'd slammed shut. In his tale, he was the casualty of fate, a sinking venture, a union buckling under cash woes. He'd sold himself that wrapping it was kindness for them both. He assured himself Olivia, with her basic hopes of a cozy pad and kin, would thrive sans his drive's load. He'd neatly skipped the bit where his drive steered him right into Sophia's circle at a networking bash weeks prior to dropping the divorce bomb on Olivia. He'd eyed his shot, a golden rung from the trap he sensed, and he'd grabbed it. The yarns he'd woven for Olivia were the same baloney he now fed himself, a calming chant to mute the soft, nagging guilt whisper. "Let's snag some bubbly," Sophia suggested, yanking him from his musings. "To toast the fresh deal to us," Ethan amended, hoisting his H2O in a fake salute. He surged with real fondness for her. She was stunning, sharp, and her faith in him was the gas propelling his rise. He was acing it. He'd aced it. A shade draped the setup. He peered up, a courteous, brush-off grin prepped for the help. And then time halted. "Evening. I'm Olivia, your attendant this night." The timbre was identical, but hollowed, robbed of the heat and mirth he recalled. It was a stranger's voice in his ex-wife's skin, but it was her, aged, her visage slimmer, marked with a fatigue absent before. And then his gaze dipped. Under the neat white smock, her form was rounded, bloated with an obvious, advanced expectancy. A booming roar packed his ears, like waves crashing to engulf him. Moments fractured. He envisioned Olivia, not in staff garb, but in the worn tee she snoozed in, snuggled by him on their bumpy sofa, her mitt on her gut as she chatted names for a future tot. He pictured her in their snug workspace, her forehead creased in focus, sketching an emblem, her trust in their joint vision total. He recalled her expression the day he declared it done. How the spark just vanished. And now she stood here, bearing his offspring. It had to be his. The timeline fit. And querying if he fancied a sip. The pure, gut-punching ridiculousness was a body slam. He was toasting an existence erected on her debris, and she was pouring his fizz. His trap was parched, his liquor a dead weight. His top tool, the weapons he'd wielded to forge his fresh realm, bailed on him utterly. He could only gawk, his meticulously built front cracking under her stare's load. "Ethan, honey, you okay?" Sophia's words sliced the haze, keen and worried. She traced his look to Olivia, her lids squinting a tad. She absorbed the weary mug, the beat-up kicks, and the glaring, condemning arc of her tummy. A spark of something, intrigue, doubt, zipped across her flawless traits. "Know her?" Sophia queried, her pitch airy, but laced with a steel edge. The inquiry dangled between them, a live wire pulled taut. Ethan's brain sped, hunting an out, a fib solid enough to mend the massive rip just gouged in his world. He couldn't spill the beans. The facts would unravel all. It would lay bare their bond's base as a shrewd fusion on deceit's bedrock. Victor Harrington shunned emotional mess. Olivia didn't blink. Her peepers, fixed in the vague middle, now locked his. And for a flash, under the work apathy veneer, he spotted it all, the hurt, the sellout, their shared past. It was a mute, condemning charge. He gaped his maw, a rebuttal shaping on his smackers, but zilch emerged. He was iced, a mannequin in fancy threads, snared in his own mess's wreckage, with his history's phantom poised to note his request. The hush at Nook 15 dragged into a humming, tense strand. For Olivia, each tick was endless. She sensed the burn of Ethan's freaked glare on her hide, the piercing, dissecting vibe of Sophia's scan. She held her own look serene, a facade of courteous probe honed over countless turns. Within, her ticker pounded her cage like a wild critter. At last, Ethan hacked his pipes, the racket oddly booming in the abrupt still. "Nah," he croaked, the term raspy. He hacked again, pushing a silkier note. "Nah, I figured she rang a bell for a sec, wrong person vibe." Sophia's finely arched brows lifted a smidge. She skipped Ethan, keeping her focus on Olivia, a leisurely, thorough once-over more rattling than outright beef. "Got it." Well, she unleashed her blinding beam on Olivia. A beam all fangs and zero heat. "We'll begin with a flask of the Dom Perignon." It wasn't an ask. It was an order. "Sure thing," Olivia replied, her tone level. She dipped her chin and pivoted from the setup, her steps calculated and slow. She held her breath till she hit the relative hideaway of the staff spot. Her paws quivered. She clutched the marble edge, zoning on the chill, firm touch under her tips. Wrong person. The line bounced in her skull, a mean, sour gag. He'd wiped her so totally from his world that he was faking she was a nobody toting his kid. A scorching rush of rage, clean and sharpening, torched the stun. How dare he? How dare he lounge there cloaked in triumph that oughta been theirs and wave her off like a fleeting notion? She grabbed the bubbly, her frame on auto. As she looped back to the setup, she snagged bits of their chat. Totally bushwhacked the rivals, Ethan was spouting, his voice reclaiming its cocky flow. Once your pop's outfit endorsed the fresh pitch, they had no option but to cave. Daddy always spots a winner, Sophia shot back, her words woven with boast. And he spots one in you, sweetie. Olivia's mitts moved nimbly, popping the cork with a gentle puff, the noise dotting Sophia's spiel. A winner? That's Ethan. That's what he'd bartered their world for. She recalled the evenings they'd hunkered over a notebook in their squeezed pad, powered by bargain brew and a mutual sight. Ethan, the charming pitchman, the guy who could hawk their concepts with a killer grin. And she, the silent motor, the one who clocked hours refining the visuals, the one who prettied his cells. They'd been a duo. His win was rooted in her groundwork. She decanted the amber fluid into their slim stems, her actions smooth and tight. She dodged Ethan's gaze, but she picked up his strain, a wild vibe beaming from him. He was spooked. Solid. So, Sophia piped, slicing Olivia's daydreams. She'd swung her focus back to her. Elixir must be a swell gig, but tough in your state. She waved loosely at Olivia's midsection, her pout a fake kind one. The probe was a dig, a fine tool hunting a soft spot. I cope, Olivia stated, her vibe chill and steady. The gratuities rock. She let the hint dangle. I gotta have the dough. Sophia's peepers gleamed. For sure. And your hubby? He got your back? The question's nastiness was jaw-dropping. Olivia felt the color flee her cheeks. Ethan fidgeted in his perch, his knuckles pale clutching his fizz stem. He skipped her eyes. He wouldn't shield her. He wouldn't even own her. Olivia met Sophia's stare. She could fib. She could conjure a backing, doting spouse and salvage a bit of dignity. But why guard them? I'm single, she declared, her voice soft but solid. The tot's dad is out of the scene. The reveal smacked the setup like a haymaker. Sophia's polite curiosity mask slipped, swapped by a burst of smug sympathy. Ethan seemed like he craved the ground to gulp him. Oh, you poor soul, Sophia cooed, the snobbery oozing from each bit. How gutsy to fly solo. Before Olivia could retort, a holler from the galley yelled her name, rescued by the gong. Pardon, she said, her pro mode locking back. Your starters soon. As she strode off, her lugs straining, she nabbed a last hushed chunk of their talk. It was Ethan, his pitch low and pressing. No clue why you're grilling her. Let it go. And Sophia's comeback icy as a glacier. I'm not grilling, honey. Just nosy about the folks slinging our grub. Gotta keep standards high, especially with the Harrington tag on all you touch now. The line struck Olivia fiercer than any phony pity. The Harrington tag. It looped back to that Ethan hadn't just ditched her. He'd been sucked into a realm she didn't fit. A realm where a knocked-up loan server wasn't a human, but a possible stain on their spotless rep, and she knew with bone-chilling sureness that this supper wasn't mere festivity. It was a trial, and she was the surprise pop quiz. The remainder of the shift blurred. Olivia flowed through the drill, a dull, effective robot. She dropped their grilled prawns and beef tenderloin, topped their waters, and whisked plates, all in a shield of work distance. Inside that shield, a tempest brewed. Each courteous demand from Sophia felt like a poke, each dodged peek from Ethan, a new sellout. They wrapped their feast, settled the sky-high tab, tossing a painfully snooty 50% gratuity, and split sans another peep. The instant their rears faced, the shield popped. Olivia lurched to the galley, her stems wobbling so bad she barely stood. She shoved the swingers, the racket and steam of the kitchen wrapping her, and beelined for the slim, dim corridor to the crew lockers. She propped against the cool steel, her brow mashed on her locker's panel, and finally exhaled what felt like an hour's hold. It escaped as a jagged, choked weep. The drops flowed then, scorching and quiet, carving trails through the face paint she'd meticulously dabbed that afternoon. It wasn't solely the shame. It was the pounding truth's load. The venture hadn't bombed. Ethan hadn't bounced 'cause they were busted. He'd bounced for this, for Sophia, for the Harrington tag and the easy win world it stood for. He hadn't just dumped her, he'd cashed in on it, erecting his shiny fresh existence on fibs, while she dished his bubbly on her puffed, throbbing tootsies. Olivia. Emily's tone was gentle at her rear. Hey, spotted them bail. You good? Olivia couldn't chat. She just shook her dome, her blades heaving with mute sobs. Emily enveloped her, her hug toasty and firm. I get it, she hushed, stroking her spine. I caught his mug when he eyed you. What a top-shelf creep. Propped on her pal, Olivia spilled some sorrow. She dished Emily the whole shebang. The terms cascading in a fractured hush, the mutual visions, the agency, the abrupt baffling split, the baloney, about being flat broke, and now this, the ultimate mean knife twist. He claimed the venture tanked? Emily quizzed, her pitch taut with fury when Olivia rapped. Olivia, that's beyond creep. That smells crooked. Olivia just wagged her head, too wiped to ponder the notion. Doesn't count. Not I can swing. He got the Harringtons backing him. I'm zilch. The terms soured like grit in her trap. She wrapped her turn in a mist. The closing hour, a slog of pointless chores. When she punched out, she felt scooped out, a brittle husk. She swapped her garb, the cloth sticking awkward to her hide, and geared for the lengthy transit home. As she trekked the now thinning hall, a gent solo at a wee setup by the exit snagged her gaze. He was senior, with warm peepers and a tidy silver mustache, clad in a plain yet classy wool blazer. He'd lingered most her stint, sipping one scotch and flipping a tome. He'd tossed her a tiny, understanding beam earlier post one of Sophia's sharper digs. As she passed, he peered up and beckoned her near. Pardon, miss, he uttered, his voice a soft bass. Olivia halted, her server beam auto-locking. Yes, sir. Need anything more? Nah, thanks. I'm set. He laced his mitts on the surface. I'm Benjamin Caldwell. Couldn't miss the rough patch you hit earlier with the duo in Nook 15. He spoke with a low-key tact that eased her right away. I'm an attorney and I've crossed paths with Victor Harrington's crew before. He's no fan of straight shooters in his deals. Olivia gawked at him, floored. He fished in his coat slot and yanked a plain, posh card. I hate to butt in and sorry if I'm crossing lines, but you strike as someone deeply shafted. He slid the card over. If you ever want counsel, free counsel, don't think twice about ringing. Sometimes a soul feeling like zilch just needs a corner man. He'd echoed her own term, the one she'd murmured to Emily in the dim hall. Olivia shifted from his warm, steady stare to the thick stalk in her paw. Benjamin Caldwell, Esquire, a wee, delicate sprout of something absent for moons, started budding in her heart's wasteland. It wasn't optimism, not quite, but a glint of maybe. The maybe she didn't gotta just tough it. The maybe she could strike back. She clamped her digits round the card, the edges biting her skin, a minor anchoring sting. Thanks, she breathed, the terms oddly lacking. Thanks, Mr. Caldwell. He just dipped his chin, a soft grasp in his peepers. Watch yourself, he added, his gaze dipping brief to her midriff. And that we won. As Olivia stepped into the crisp evening breeze, the urban glows seemed less taunting, less mean. The card in her pouch felt like a hidden blade. For the first tick since Ethan bailed her world, she sensed a shard of clout. The mute, strained vibe in Ethan's BMW clashed with the peppy tunes from the premium speakers. The skyline streaks zipped by the glass, but Ethan caught none. He was looping the supper in his noggin, a fright flick on repeat. Olivia's mug, her tummy's curve, the blankness in her peepers, Sophia's keen, plodding queries. So, gonna spill what that was? Sophia's tone was fake chill, but Ethan knew her enough to spot the risky ripple. He fixed on the pavement, his paws clamping the hide-wrapped wheel. I said I don't know her. She just seemed kinda known. The fib felt paper-thin even to him. Don't play me for a fool, Ethan. Sophia barked, the chill mask gone. You looked like a deer in headlights, a knocked-up one. You locked up. I've watched you wheel and deal a megabuck pact without flinching, but you couldn't even nab a drink from help. Who is she? This was the dread moment. His dual world smashing. He'd hustled to keep Em apart, to entomb his past's truth under ambition and win piles. She's nobody, he pushed, his pitch climbing. An old flame from way back. Messy end, and I was just shocked to spot her and of. An old flame? Sophia's chuckle was curt and fragile. And the tot? Bet it's fate. Sure fate. Gotta be, he blurted too fast. The calc matched, he knew. That final frantic, soul-crushing eve together pre-split. Possible. The notion zapped panic through him, so strong it turned his gut. A messy end, Sophia echoed, her tone oozing doubt. You claimed your sole big romance pre-me was college days. This wasn't big, he fibbed, the terms sour as bile. Not big. He'd wed Olivia. They'd forged a life, a venture, a horizon. He was trashing that recall. For what? To shield this fresh existence, this breakable, gleaming trophy. She seemed pretty big, Sophia fired. And big time broke. What went down? You wreck her world and ditch her with a bun in the oven? Her vibe mocked, but her peepers flashed real alert. The Harringtons shunned dirt. Their rep was gold. A dumped, expecting ex-spouse slinging plates was a publicity bomb. Wasn't like that, Ethan pleaded, his tone begging. The venture we ran. It bombed. Wrecked us cash-wise. The split was mutual. Swear. He chanced to peek at her. She gazed out the pane, her jaw locked, her mirror a sour mask in the dark glass. She wasn't buying. He wasn't sure if it was the bun or the fib, but he'd zoned out, and he knew Sophia would hound it. They cruised the rest to her loft in hush. When he rolled into the secure lot, she faced him. My pop's throwing a brunch at the Lynx Sunday. He wants to seal the fusion docks. Don't flake. It was a send-off. She hopped out sans a peck, sans a peep, and vanished into the lift. Ethan lounged in the quiet ride, the motor clicking cool. A chill fear wave hit him. He'd sidestepped the slug for now, but nicked. He'd seen Sophia's look. She'd probe, and if she probed, she'd unearth stuff he'd meticulously buried. He yanked his mobile, his paws jittery, and scrolled to a digit in used for moons. His ex-biz mate and current ops boss, Alex. Alex grabbed on the dual ring. Ethan, all good? It's late. Gotta jam, Ethan hissed, his pitch low and dire. A whopper. Bout the old firm's wind down, the one with Olivia. Pause on the flip. What about it? Alex's tone cautious. She surfaced, Ethan spilled, the term's a guilty plea. In town and a snag. What snag? Ethan pinched his lids. She's expecting Alex, and I reckon she won't fade quiet this round. He recalled her table exit gaze. Not just ache. It was tougher, something akin to grit. The books are entombed, Ethan, Alex tried calming. The shell corp we routed the goods through. Bulletproof. She inked the forms. She bought it was worthless. Forms can get repeaked, Ethan snarled. Suits can get hired. One loose ends all. You and me know we didn't just shutter that firm. We gutted it, hawked the bits, and flipped the dough as startup seed for the new outfit. We sold her it was junk. The lines hush weighed with joint shame. What you want? Alex finally quizzed. Dig through all, Ethan ordered, his tone quaking with terror absent since pre-cash, pre-Sophia, pre-fibs became fact. Every swap, every mail, bury it so deep the devil can't sniff. 'Cause if Sophia or her pop learns I stacked this whole gig on a fib and swiped biz, I'm toast. The following days were a blur of wipeout and jitters for Olivia. She clocked in, beamed at folks, and lugged hefty platters till her spine hollered. But her brain wandered. It looped the supper, picking apart each term, each glance. It obsessed on Sophia's last barb. The Harrington tag on all you touch now. Ethan hadn't launched fresh. The Harringtons had slapped their label on his venture, their venture. The one he'd sworn was a debt heap. The whopper was so bold, so massive she'd been too crushed to spot. He hadn't just two-timed her. He'd pulled a full-money scam. He hadn't just shattered her ticker. He'd nicked her tomorrow. The fury bubbling for moons finally erupted, burning off her last self-woe. She pondered their venture, Innovative Vision Studios. She recalled a key gig they'd nabbed just pre-end. Their fattest client yet, a chic lodge chain named Voyager Hotels. They were tapped for a full-image revamp, emblems, site build, promo stuff. It was a beast job, the type to launch their outfit. Ethan handled the end pack talks. Then a week on, he hit her with his charts and mournful peepers, claiming Voyager Hotels bailed last SEC, busting them. It never added up. Voyager Hotels was booming, not busting. But she trusted. On her free day, Olivia perched at the rickety stand in her pad, Benjamin Caldwell's card beside her laptop. Her digits shook typing Voyager Hotels into the hunt. The lodge's site popped, sleek and current. And boom, footer in fine, classy type. Image and site by Hayes Pierce Creative. Hayes Pierce Creative. Ethan's surname Hayes and his fresh made Alex. Surname Pierce. They barely tweaked the tag. A face smack. She hit the agency's site. It was a glossy corp showcase packed with big-name gigs, and smack dab in highlights was the full image kit for Voyager Hotels, stamped 6 moons back. Exact when Ethan claimed bankruptcy. The evidence stared, bold as brass. Her inhale snagged. Emily's words rang. Smells crooked. Her mitt gripped her mobile. She had the card. Dialing felt like cliff jumping. It'd mean war on Ethan and thus the Harrington Empire. Scary as hell. But the flip? Let him skate, raise her kid on server scraps, while the dude meant to provide lounged in luxury on her nicked toil and faith. The infant thumped, a firm, pushy bump on her cage. All the guts she needed. She punched the digits. Caldwell Law. How may I assist? A courteous desk answered. I'm Olivia, she said, her tone wobbly. Mr. Benjamin Caldwell handed me his card. He said ring for advice. 60 ticks later, she sat in Mr. Caldwell's serene, shelf-packed den. A universe from Elixir's frenzy and her squeezed pad's walls. It was peaceful. Secure. With a mild, bolstering way, he tuned as she unpacked the saga, from Innovative Vision Studios' birth to the jarring Elixir supper to that morn's find. She fired up the sights on her mobile, her paws shaking showing the slam-dunk proof. Mr. Caldwell tuned sharp, his digits tented, his look pondering. He skipped cuts, just nodded now and then, his warm peepers fixed on her mug. When she done, long hush. Olivia, he finally uttered, his tone gentle but firm. This tops a tangled split. From what you showed in my Harrington dealings, this reeks of intentional gutting and bogus claims. The law lingo daunted, but the gist clear. Ethan hadn't just fibbed. He'd done wrong. What he pulled, Mr. Caldwell went on, leaning in, was sell you on shuttering the duo and signing off your stake in the joint asset, the venture, by faking zero worth. Then he and his mate basically shifted that asset, contract included, to a fresh shell, axing you. He swiped your share. Hearing it plain, so clinical, backed it all. She wasn't nuts. Not a dope. Victim of a plotted, mean con. What can I swing? she whispered barely. We can battle, he declared. The edge of iron in his pitch. Won't be a walk in the park. The Harringtons will unleash their suit army. They'll bury us in filings and bids. They'll intimidate, brand you a sour ex-chasing payout. He locked her gaze, but facts side with you, and the docs, seams, are web-wide for all. That was his prime goof. He rose and strolled to his pane, peering the hustling lane below. Your call, Olivia. We can mail a note, push for payout, or sue and go loud. The latter's dicey, but a loud suit is Victor Harrington's nightmare. Bad for the image. Olivia pictured Sophia's cocky, pity mug. She pictured Ethan's wimp out. She pictured her kid and the world she merited. A hush payout wouldn't wipe the shame, the raw wrong. Needed a showdown. She rose, her back ramrod, her mitt guarding her tummy. I wanna sue. The note from Benjamin Caldwell's den, a formal heads-up of looming suit, smacked Ethan's stand like a grenade. He scanned once, twice, the jargon blurring but the hit crystal. Olivia knew. She knew about Voyager hotels. She knew about Hayes Pierce. She sued for scam, claiming her venture half's worth and extra slaps. Terror, icy and total, gripped him. He'd been so fixated hiding from Sophia he underrated Olivia. He'd mixed her quiet sorrow for frailty, her hush for okay. He'd handled her like a side note in his tale, and she was set to overhaul the tome. His initial dial was Alex, who swore up a storm pre-confirming worse dreads. The Cybertracks were ironclad. His second dial was the Harrington's top suit, a predator in pricey threads, who tuned grim and ordered zip to anyone. His third and most feared dial was Sophia. He tried lowballing, framing as pest suit from peeved ex, but harm done. The doubt seed he'd planted bloomed to a prickly, wild mess. He had to face Olivia. He had to patch, not with suits, but the charm he'd banked on. He could clarify he sold himself. Make her grasp the squeeze he faced, the shot he couldn't skip. He could tap their past tie, the link he now grasped with a sick flip. He never fully cut. He learned from Emily, the elixir server, a call costing 5 Benjamins and soul chunk that Olivia had off. He knew her spot. Soul place meaningful for their once. The old Innovative Vision Studios den was in a shabby stone structure on the factory edge. He hadn't returned since packing day, leaving Olivia's side untouched. As he nudged the unbolted panel, dust and old Joe's scent whacked him. Identical, a flawless past capsule. Her sketch stands still by the pane, stray leads on top. The pinboard wall still plastered with early doodles, idea jots, and a bleached snap of them, youthful and beaming, snapped lease sign day. And she stood mid-room, her outline boxed by the filthy pane. She skipped him. She eyed the wall snap. Knew you'd show, she said sans pivot. Her tone calm, lacking the fire he braced. Scarier that way. Olivia, got a chat, he launched, stepping in. This suit goof. We can hash quiet. You don't want to tangle with Harringtons. She finally faced. The fatigue gone from her peepers, swapped by icy, sharp clear. This skips Harringtons, Ethan. This you and me. This den. This what you pulled. I was sinking, he blurted, term spilling. A frantic, lame spill. Venture lagged. Debt piled. Met Sophia and her pop. He spotted me. Lifeline. Olivia shot to be somebody, have the world we jawed. The world we jawed. Her chuckle sharp, sour echo in bare den. The world we jawed meant us building joint. Meant this den, this grind. Skipped you fibbing me, nicking from me, ditching me to solo raise our kid while you played royal sidekick to some blue blood. Didn't know you were expecting, he breathed, term snagging. Swear, Olivia, if known. What? She snapped. What you done, Ethan? Cut bigger check to vanish me. You'd still bail. Still fib. Didn't just bail me. Wipe me. She strode to her old stand and nabbed a sheet. Copy of Final Winddown she inked. Trusted you, she said, tone quaking first. My hubby may. I'd trail you through any flop, any rough. One thing I couldn't? Betrayal. And you didn't just betray, you schemed, ran it like biz. The bare facts stripped his last shield. He saw his true self, wimp and crook, guy who hawked soul for exec view. Guilt a real load squashing air from lungs. Sorry, he uttered, terms lame. Olivia, so sorry. Sorry skips fix. Den panel creaked. Both swung. Sophia, her mug pale, tight rage mask. She clutched her mobile, screen lit. Tailed you, she said, pitch deadly hush. She scanned Ethan's wrecked look to Olivia's firm pose. Had a snoop eye you past week, Ethan. Your bombed venture, your tangled end. She stepped in, her chill peepers sweeping dusty den, emblem of life he swore never was. Turns out, she pushed, gaze nailing Ethan precise. My pop doesn't just back hungry guys. He backs their yarns. And your yarn, total fib. Didn't just ditch her, robbed her. She eyed Olivia, a spark not pity, but gal-to-gal nod in peepers. Claimed taught not his. Final fib dangled, gross and bare. Ethan scanned the duo, the gal whose past he wrecked, the gal whose tomorrow he lost. His kingdom's walls crashed, him solo in debris. 8 moons on, fall sun beamed through big pick pane of bright, breezy design hub. Walls crisp hopeful white, decked with lively emblem ideas and image panels. Corner, slick modern cradle by big sketch stand. This Olivia's turf, her outfit her reboot. Suit settled pre-court. Hit with slam dunk proof and loud scandal threat to Harrington tag, Victor Harrington cut losses. Sliced Ethan free ruthless. Payout topped fair. Figure owned not just Olivia's nicked venture half, but lost earnings too. Justice in cold wire speak, but dose secondary. What she reclaimed. Herself. Soft coo from cradle. Olivia beamed, striding to peer at her boy, Noah. 3 moons old, perfect mini with dark fuzz and shock green peepers. Long, she fretted eyeing him with sting of Ethan. But lifting him, his toasty small form molding hers, just fierce, total love. Not betrayal nod. Hers, proof of her grit. Hot bell chimed. Benjamin Caldwell strolled in, wide beam. He bulks each visit, Benjamin said, tickling Noah's chin soft. Good lad, Olivia said, heart ballooning. Biz booms. Voyager Hotels dumped Hayes Pierce post-story break. Sign me last week. Ultimate full circle. Never doubted, Benjamin said. Here to say final ink's dry. Your tie to Ethan Hayes dissolved official. One more. He passed plain envelope. Hit my den for you. From him. Olivia's breath hitched. No Ethan sight or sound since old den day. Sophia ditched instant, Harrington's wrecked his path, barring every big outfit. Lost all. She set Noah in cradle and wary opened. Inside single page and wee cloth sack. Note no excuse or beg. Phil. Wrote of greed, flop fear, deep shame now for deeds. Skipped forgive ask, just trying man may be worthy someday. Menial gig, he wrote, therapy started. First hurts on long redeem trail. Her paws quaking, Olivia opened sack. Inside small, detailed would fish smooth with years. First gift he gave, Nick from Street Hawk on debut date, back kids with joint dream. Drops swelled her peepers, not rage or blue. Release drops, final loose of long haunt ghost. Didn't know if Ethan full redeem. But first, believed trying, and grasped with deep calm his trail skipped hers. She scanned sunlit hub at proof of built life, not ruins, but own skill and bounce. Eyed her fine son, snoozing peaceful, sign not lost, but gained all. Her tomorrow blank bright slate. Soul brush she needed. Not victim. Not phantom at others spread. She was Olivia. Finally full free. Olivia's trek from crushed server to thriving owner shows resilience's wild might. Faced top betrayal, but skipped define, flipped hurt to gas reclaiming life and forging fresh tomorrow for her and boy. Ethan's tale reminds choices bite, but redeem possible, even if road long and rough. What you think of Olivia's tale? Ethan merit fresh shot? Spill thoughts below. If this betrayal and uplift yarn moved ya, smack like, share with pal, sub for more heartfelt true tales.